start off as a new agent, have no idea what you're doing. Then you realize that it's a sales game. You become a really productive real estate agent. Then you build out a team. But then you had another realization, and then you transitioned to eXp. Hi, everybody. This is Jose Luis Morales. Welcome back to the Morales Group Show. This is episode number 81. Today we've got a very special guest, Mrs. Tina Caul herself from Raleigh, North Carolina. She's a superstar real estate agent out there, been in the business for 21 years and is just obviously killing it. Welcome to the show, Tina. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So this is actually the first episode that we do with a real estate agent, and we're kind of transitioning a little bit to a real estate agent series where we're looking to add value to our real estate partners. So when I thought about who to have, I was like, all right, Tina's doing great things, so let's reach out to her.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Well, that's exciting. Hopefully we can help somebody out there.
Yeah. So I wanted just to start off, like, who is Tina Caul and how did you get into the real estate business?
Well, lucky for me, Jose, I got in when I was 23 years old, and I'm 43 today. So not today, but this year. And so I've been in the business for a long time. And I started like anybody, just at a brokerage in Michigan. I had, 20 agents around me. I became the equivalent of who was around me, and I was selling 20, 30 homes a year in my peak. And thank God I met Beline Obaid, who is a longtime Mike Ferry agent. And when I understood how she was selling, millions and millions of dollars of real estate, I joined that coaching company. And from there, my mind expanded and I started to think bigger. And my business life changed a little bit in 2009. I decided with my coach that I was going to move from Michigan because it was cold and freezing there. And we moved to Raleigh, North Carolina in 2009. I stayed an independent agent with my husband. We grew the business to about 130 transactions with just me in the business for 4 years straight. And then I hit my peak of tolerance for my life, and that grind. And I started to grow a real estate team. Yeah. And so I grew the team, and now here we are today, still in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, and this may be way too far back, but were you like an instant success in real estate? Like, meaning that did you close like 40, 50 deals your first year? Or what did that progression look like leading up to the 100 deals?
Yeah, no, I wasn't an instant success. I was a gritty 23-year-old that was, came from a Greek Italian family. So we weren't shy. So I remember my first 3 listings were actually for sale by owners. I had found online that I built this little package that basically said, if you want to sell your home yourself, you have to do the job of a real estate agent. And I would drop that off to their house. And then I would run down the driveway, hoping they wouldn't see me. Right. And then I would call them 2 or 3 days later. Hey, did you get that package? And they go, well, yeah, that was so great. And so then I would just stay in touch with them and build a relationship. And at that time, homes weren't selling very quickly in Detroit. And so my first 3 listings, again, were for sale by owners. So I kind of just was gritty enough to find the information and implement. So I think my first year, I was the rookie of the year at the time. But I think I ended up selling, making $80,000 my first year. And then I peaked out at about $150,000 per year for the first 7 years of my career. I never knew how to get above that.
So
not an instant success.
Yeah. And then what do you say, like, was that the time that you kind of met Beline, and is that the time that you joined Mike Ferry Coaching at that point, kind of when you had that breakthrough from that $100,000 to $150,000 mark? Or at what point did that happen?
So what happened, actually, the story was in 2006, the market started to crash in Michigan before 2008. So I went from, selling homes, $150,000 units to $60,000 short sales. So I wasn't having fun anymore. My income went from 150 to 40. And I was like, if I'm going to make 40 grand, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this business anymore. I'm going to go into interior design because I love that interior design background that I had. And so I then ran into Baleen at an action workshop. It was a free workshop. Come make $1 million a year selling real estate. We'll teach you how. I had nothing to lose. I grabbed my broker and 5 of the agents in my office. I said, let's go to this action workshop in Plymouth. I ran into Baleen there and I was like, why is she here at a training event? She already knows how to sell houses. But when I put 2 and 2 together, I'm like, oh, that's how she does it. It was sort of like an awakening. And so the next year I hired the coach immediately. The next year, my business went from 40,000 back to 150. And then we moved a year later to North Carolina and just started our business over.
Yeah. So looking back at it now, like if you had to give advice to like a new real estate agent or somebody that's freshly licensed, what advice would you give somebody in that position? Or maybe even somebody that's been in the business for some time, but is only doing 5, 6, 7 deals a year?
I think that real estate agents need to understand that they're in a sales business first, right? They need to understand the language of sales. They need to practice their scripts and dialogue. I know my mentor always says, if you were to be paid, $500,000 a year and you had to learn the scripts in this movie and you show up on the set and you don't know your scripts, you're not going to get paid. So you have to understand the language. And I think every agent has some sort of script that they use. It's just which one is more, which one is going to put the consumer into action and get the consumer to do the things that are best for the consumer. And so I think once I learned the art of the skills of like learning what to say, it built my confidence. And then I was able to go out and get more customers. So if you're an agent that's struggling, it's because they don't know how to generate business every single day. So you have to learn that art before you can scale. And so once you learn that art and now you're in the trenches every day, you're trying to make that appointment or 2 every single day, you're landing appointments, there's only a peak where a person like me or like you can get to where they're hitting a ceiling, right? And so there is a leverage point where I always go, okay, I've hit a ceiling now as an independent agent. I think the ceiling is 50, 60 transactions a year today with the way the world is, what we need to do. Once you hit 50 deals a year, that's when you're probably good enough to start building a team, start really building leverage and having a business versus being the high paid employee of your business, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's funny because when I got into business, Tina, I was in retail.
Yeah.
And in retail, people would just walk into the store and we would sell them something. Obviously, that store had been around for 20 plus years. But when I got into real estate, I made the mistake of thinking that real estate was going to be the exact same way, meaning that I could just sit at my desk and that people were just going to start calling me saying, Jose, we love you. We want to work with you. And the reality was that it was not like that. Like it was not like that whatsoever. And it was more of a direct sales, meaning I had to go out and generate new business every single day. And a day not generating was a day not worked. So essentially that was one of the big light bulbs that I had. And looking back at other real estate agents' business, a lot of them don't treat the business in that way now. They just kind of sit back and wait for people to come versus going out there and generating the business.
Yeah.
So let's talk about.
I was gonna say, or they're told now to go out on social media, which is great, and it's got a purpose and a place. But even my social media, I have 15,000 followers on Instagram, 3,200 followers on Facebook. I still rarely get business from those two for real estate. So it's like, even at our caliber, that's just not, I would be broke if I waited for Instagram to pay my bills.
Same thing here. I would agree with you 100%. So the main thing I think for new real estate agents, having an accurate assessment of what business you're actually getting into and whether you want to participate in that kind of business. If it is, then great. Obviously, it'll help you. What did your schedule look like then, Tina? Like when you were growing, like what would a typical day for Tina Caul? What was it like at the beginning of your career? And then what did it transition to at your most productive time when you were doing about 130 deals?
Yeah. So I would say when I was just a regular agent in the business, I would wake up at 8:30, get to the office 9:30, 10 o'clock, have some coffee, talk to the people, call a few people. I let the day happen to me. Every day it was the day happening to me. And if I got lucky to work with a buyer or seller from a referral or somebody in my network, I would then spend a lot of time servicing the deal, the one deal that I had, which took up a lot of time of my day, and I felt productive. After I understood that I could take control of my day and I could, literally build $1 million business, I had to adopt what $1 million mindset producers do. And when you look at a very successful multi-millionaire, they usually start their day very early because they know they have to be prepared for the day. So then I would wake up at 6 o'clock. From 6 to 6:30, I typically had some sort of, affirmations, or I read something really positive. 6:30 to 7, I would work out. 7 to 7:30, I was, getting ready. And then I was in the office role playing from 8 to 8:30. 8:30, I was on the phones. 8:30 to 11:30, I was prospecting and doing lead follow-up. 11:30 to 12, I had email time. 12 to 1, lunch, and 1 to 6, appointments. And if I didn't have appointments, I was back to the grind and get back on the phone and make an appointment. Because if you don't have an appointment, you literally went broke that day. So you don't worry about what's in your pipeline. That money has been spent. And the more you're servicing that money, your dollar per hour is going down because you're servicing money that is already in there. You need to go out and make new money. So the mindset was very different for me once I became a top producer, and I had to be very strict with my schedule. Eventually, that schedule also changed because I then didn't want to be the main gasoline for the engine, and I started to buy back some of that time so I could start building a team. And so my schedule now is much different.
Much different now. Yeah. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Whenever you were lead generating, like if somebody wanted to lead generate, what were you calling? Who were you talking to at that point? Expireds, FSBOs, I'm imagining.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, when I moved to North Carolina back in 2009, I didn't know anybody, so I moved into a new town. I couldn't get out of my driveway without a GPS. So I didn't know where the hell I was, number one. I knew how to sell houses and I had my scripts, right? So I was calling every fresh expired at the time, which we were blessed with, the market was crashing. So we had plenty of expireds to call. It was a different time than today. Calling for sale by owners that couldn't sell their homes, circle dialing, and then I would start to add people to my database. I strategically placed myself in a more affluent community because I knew I wanted to sell higher end properties. And if you want to sell multi-million-dollar properties, you have to network with people that have multi-million-dollar houses, right? So that was nice, as we knew that we were growing the network of people that we were meeting, all the while calling the fresh, hot, and ready people raising their hand, people that failed to sell or people that want to sell but not pay a commission. From there, we then built a database where we could call past clients eventually. But for the beginning stages, it was expireds, FSBOs, and circle dialing.
Basically. Okay. So getting your name out there at the beginning. At what point, Tina, did you hire your first assistant? And did that help you at all when you hired your first assistant?
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I hired my first assistant was my husband. So he was free. That was not something that I recommend. I think it's really hard in a marriage to bring in a husband or a wife and be like, you're my assistant now. That I don't recommend. So I quickly deviated from that plan and hired an assistant. Probably a year into being in North Carolina, we had sold enough houses. We had made a couple $100,000 at that point. And so I hired my first assistant, and I was doing about 30 deals a year in North Carolina. So, because again, I never wanted to be stuck doing $10, $15 an hour work when my value at the time was, about, I think $280 servicing a buyer per hour and $700 servicing a seller per hour. Why am I doing $20 an hour work?
Yeah. And I think that's the point that a lot of agents don't realize, that they're doing a lot of administrative stuff, which you can hire somebody for $10, $20, $30 an hour instead of focusing on the higher dollar activity, which is obviously lead generation and generating more business for the business. Do you have any tips, Tina? Like, I don't know how many assistants you've had in your career. I don't know if you've had any good ones. I don't know if you've had any bad ones. But if somebody is maybe looking to hire their first assistant, is there any tips that you can give for somebody in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I was blessed. My first assistant is somebody I recruited from another team in my building. So I was at Remax at the time, and I remember I would get into the office at 7:30 and she was there. And I was like, her and I were the only ones in the building. And she'd be like, man, if I ever worked for anybody else, I'd work for you. And I was like, well, we can make that happen one day. And so the agent she was working with actually started to slow down. He ended up buying the Remax franchise. And so he didn't have as much work. So we ended up sharing her. She was a rock star. So if I could give anyone advice, it would be try and recruit somebody who already knows what they're doing, right? I mean, if you are doing transactions, you'd be surprised to know how some other team leaders pay their people. And so as I started to get into conversations through the years with people, if I was talking to a kick-ass assistant, I'd be like, so, how long have you been there? If you ever were to transition out of a business, would you stay doing that? Or would you get your real estate license? Oh, I love my job. And well, if you're ever looking, we want somebody just like you, Sally. Like literally, if I could duplicate you, if you find me another one of you, I'm open and I'm paying this much. And they're like, oh, then you get the email like, hey, I'm looking. So we just had a person that was getting paid $40,000. We paid her $60,000 and she was thrilled. Right. And so I would recruit somebody who knows what they're doing, that is plug and play, and that you can grow with. The other thing I wanted to mention is for the agents that are watching that are seasoned, right, that are trying to maybe grow and expand, think about also bringing in an ISA. That's a game changer for leverage for people. So just like we shouldn't be doing $10, $15 an hour work, an ISA is $2,000 a month at a 5% override. If you get 2 or 3 ISAs, and that's $2,000 to $4,000 to $6,000 a month, one deal covers all of those people. So that's another thing for me. If I were to do it all over again, I would train people to be in the trenches for 7-8 hours a day. And I would train 2 or 3 people. Imagine the amount of business I could get out of those people in the beginning versus me just doing it myself for 3 hours. So that's another piece to scale faster once you know what you're doing.
So you're basically talking about like somebody calling on your behalf, basically somebody
Correct.
helping drum up business in that sense.
Correct. Yeah. Instead of me doing the calls, which, obviously we have the best skills, but that can be taught. We're not the only people in the world that can learn sales skills. I mean, every major corporation organization in the nation has a skilled ISA inside sales department. And then when they drum up that lead in that appointment, they pass it on to a salesperson to close it. So salespeople naturally hate the grind. That's why so many of them don't make that much money, because they don't like what you and I do, Jose. They don't have the guts to do it for that long. So if you hate doing it, but you're a good agent, just hire it out. I mean, it's you can hire it out for $15 an hour and train somebody really well to grow that department for you.
Where would somebody go to hire somebody like that? Like, obviously, I had the same realization that you did 2 years ago, and I had to miss a month of work in December because I was taking some personal development at that time. And at that point, it was like the first week I said, wait, I'm not at the business. That means nobody is lead generating. So at that point, I hired somebody and I said, okay, I'm going to start training somebody. And after that, then we hired a second person as well, too. And now obviously we've poured into them, but that's been a vital piece in the growth, and just it's allowed me to venture off into other things. But I think that most people look at that as a cost versus an investment. They think, how much is that going to cost me versus how much am I going to make? So where would somebody go to hire like their first virtual assistant? And I'll share where I found mine afterwards as well.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it is going to cost them money. It's going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss, so yeah, it's going to cost them money for sure. I love when you look at car dealerships. If you're sitting in a town and somewhere in USA and you actually go to 5 different dealerships right now, put in your information, you're going to get an ISA that calls you from a car dealership. And that car dealership ISA probably gets paid peanuts, and they're following up on car leads every single day. And every dealership across the nation has no vehicles right now. So, with COVID. So right now, if you find a good ISA that calls you and keeps following up, that's the person I'm going to interview. And I might say to them, Joey, you've been amazing. I love your style. I'm looking to hire somebody just like you. what do you make at a car dealership? Because I just want to know if real estate and car sales, you guys make the same amount. They might tell you and you go, wow, I'm actually hiring somebody for 2,000 or 2,500 a month with a 5 or 10% override. I'd love to meet with you because I think that if you're doing this in car sales, that's just as easy to do it in real estate. So we have found them from that. And then also, just recruited or put in ads. So we have a great ad that we use, which I'm happy to share with anybody in your audience, to get an ISA. And we get tons of people that reach out for that role. And we just get lucky. We interview, put them through a process, and we pick the best ones. And we've been, knock on wood, really lucky.
You know what I've noticed about you? A lot of people think that you have to go out and do something different to hire great people. But I think one of your gifts is probably you're consistently looking for talent, just in the regular day-to-day conversations that you're having. Meaning you could be at a soccer game and you're talking to one of the kids' parents, and one of the kids' parents says, I do this, this, and this. And your brain automatically starts thinking, is there any way where maybe we can transition that skill and maybe help improve their life and also help improve our life? And I think that's great that you do that. And I think that's one of,
Yeah, well, I was going to say that the best story, Jose, is my son's 5th grade teacher, Mackenzie. We were sitting at this party one night and she's like, I love teaching. I've been doing it for 20 years. I make about 45, 50 grand. I'm just burned out. I think I want to train adults. Do you know, Tina, anybody in corporate America that I could possibly, learn from to teach adults and sales training? And I'm like, I said, you know what? You want to teach adults all day in a classroom? I said, come be on my team. I'll make you an admin. I'll pay you 50 grand. You'll learn the business the first year, and I'll have her do listing input. And so she can get her feet wet. First year, she does that. She rocks it as an admin. Then I put her in the sales role. So she's an agent, sells 50 homes her first year on my team. Now she runs my entire team. She's my integrator. I read the book Rocket Fuel. I don't know if you've read it. It's amazing. And so now she is my integrator. She's the other piece of my brain. So I'm the visionary where I go, here's my ideas. This is going to work. Can you take it and run with it? And she does. And we've got a great partnership. So teachers make amazing real estate agents,
Absolutely. And it's funny because that was already somebody that you knew, and most people were probably coming across these opportunities already, but just they're not thinking about it the right way. Like, could this person could we work together and maybe build something together that's a win-win? I had the same thing with my integrator. He was calling me trying to sell me something. I said, man, This guy is persistent. And then I realized he was really good at computers. And then I made him an offer. And now obviously it's one of the best things that I've done. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You were an agent at one point, then you became a top producing individual real estate agent where you were making a lot of money and just selling. What shifted? Like, what shifted for you to actually think about leverage at some point? Because obviously I see a lot of people that kind of get stuck in that range of selling 80, 100 homes personally. Obviously they're making a lot of money. Like, they're making a lot of money, but they have very little freedom and they don't have any leverage. So they end up missing out on a large portion of their life, I kind of feel, because they never built a team. Was there a certain moment in your life that caused that shift, or yeah?
I think, Jose, it goes back to, we're not thinking big enough, like you, me, and all the people we know, let's say at Mike Ferry, we went from being these individual agents to maybe being average to all of a sudden making up to $1 million a year. And remember the time when you said, I want to make $1 million a year, and you thought that was such a stretch goal. And then you hit that goal and you're like, I did it. I've arrived. And we get into complacency mode, and we don't want to mess up what we just did because we're so grateful for the opportunity to be in the role we're in, right? But the reality is, no major corporation, no $100 million earner is a party of one. None. Find me a corporation that makes hundreds of millions of dollars with one person at the helm. Not going to happen. So we're all of a sudden, we're these high income earners because we're better than average, right? Because we make $1 million a year, big deal. But we are a tiny fish, right? in a big pond. And so I think to myself, I used to think I want $1 million net worth. And then I got there. And then it's like, oh, 5 million. Okay. Then I got there. Then it was 10 million. Now it's 50 million. And even 50 million is so small in comparison to what can be done. I mean, we were just, I was just on stage with Tony Robbins, right? And so we were in Dallas, and he was talking about having 180 different companies, and the guy makes billions of dollars every year. He started like you and me. And so the thing about it is, I think that we don't want to leave any untapped potential. And so when I started to have a mindset shift, I was like, you know what? $1 million is nothing. It's not even big enough for me to help the amount of people that I know that I can help. And so I have to get out of my own way. And I have to start saying, okay, if I get cancer or get hit by a bus, I really didn't build anything. My family this business will go down with me. So that's not a business, that's a high paid job, just like a doctor, an attorney, or a surgeon, right? You can't replace a surgeon. They make a lot of money, but they're stuck. They're bound to that business. So I started to look at team leaders, and I started to see that, leverage is through people. So think about this. Before your team, you and I were chasing a $10,000 commission check like it was the be all end all every single day. But yet, if I bring an agent onto my team and I teach that agent to fish, and I teach that agent to hunt, and I teach that agent to become $100,000 producer, if they make 100 grand, I make 100 grand. If I get 10 of those people, that's $1 million of business to me just by helping 10 people earn $1 million. So if I get 20 people, it's $2 million. If I get 30 people, it's $3 million. And the money just keeps growing through people. So the more people I help, and I'm not selfish with my information, right? I'm going to leverage and build. Now I'm going to get to the point where I have 50 people on my team, which is going to still, be a huge profitable team. I don't care if my net stays the same, which it won't, it'll continue to grow. But the fact of the matter is I never have to sell a home again. So I can go away for 2 months and my team's going to sell 100 homes. Like, that is freedom to me through people and leverage.
Yeah. I also think that what you mentioned right there is exposure as well too.
Yeah.
You've been exposed now to Tony Robbins. You've been exposed to bigger people. It's funny because a lot of people in my market 5-6 years ago, they would come up to me and they tell me, I want to be just like you. And my response was always, I'm nobody. I was selling 50 homes a year. At that time, I was like, look, I'm nobody. Here's my advice. Go out to this retreat, the Mike Ferry organization, and look at the people on stage. And that's who you want to look up to. Meaning, look up to the Bernie Gallerinis, look up to the Tina Cauls, look up to the Hal Swayzes, look up to these people. These guys are the ones making it. And I think what helped me at the beginning of my career and is helping me now is that when I got started, I wasn't comparing myself to the top producer in my market. I was comparing myself to I was modeling after the top producers in other markets, which were a lot larger than the market that I was in, which is kind of the same thing that's happening to you, is that you've continued to level up. And now you're obviously surrounded by people that 50 million is not a lot,
Well,
and it's not to be egotistical, but.
Yeah. And when you think about it, the thing that I thought, when my coach, when I was with the Mike Ferry organization, I'm no longer there, but I kind of grew out of that mindset because my problem was, okay, I'm doing the grind. I'm in the grind. I want to grow a team. Oh, don't grow a team. Why? A team is amazing. I mean, a team is fantastic, but the reality is Mike did exactly what you and I are doing today through people. He was a party of one. He had his coaching clients, but he couldn't duplicate himself. Or he needed to duplicate himself to now train 4,000 people. You bring on a bunch of coaches, you train them, you download your brain into them. Everybody's not Mike Ferry, right? I'd rather have Mike Ferry as a coach than any one of those coaches because he's Mike Ferry. But the reality is you'll take a second level, third level Mike Ferry because the teaching is still the same. So he learned duplication. Now he has 4,000 people paying $1,000 a month. That's huge. That's a huge income every single month. So duplication and leverage is key. And he was the master of that. And why are we not taught that? So now my passion is teaching agents, do not get in that daily grind of running your business individually. It's great, do it, but grow it and help other people do it too. And when you teach somebody to fish, you're going to get in relation to how many people you help, that's the income that's going to come in, right? The more agents I help, the more buyers and sellers I help, the more money I make. So I have to teach the duplication. And now my mindset, Jose, is getting into how do we build programs? How do we build coaching programs where we can get it to the masses through social media, right? So that's the next level of thinking, is how do I become, let's say, a coach in the industry and leverage myself where my information is there 24/7 without me having to deliver it live every single day.
It's funny because I had that realization as well too. Like, I went to shadow an agent by the name of, or not an agent, a wholesaler. I don't know if you know Ryan Pineda. He's a TikToker and he's got like a YouTube following. And the guy literally starts showing me his phone and he goes, "Hey, look, I just sold a $5,000 course. I just sold a $2,000 course. I just sold a $1,000 course." And I was like, literally just looking at him like he was not doing anything. He created something once and he was continually getting paid for that one creation that he had. And that's when I was like, okay, I mastered the money making part. Now there's another level called the money plus the freedom. And I think that's obviously a similar realization that you've had and that you've done. So what does your business look like now?
I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, I knock on wood, it's doing really well. So for my real estate team, I have, we'll sell about 500 homes this year. I've got amazing staff and leadership in place. I spend about 4 hours a week to 8 hours a week on my team. So that's it. It literally self-manages. And I'm the one that's kind of, on the back end saying, okay, this looks good. This looks good. Let's implement this. Let's get the right coaching for my leadership. That will net us about $1 million this year net. Then we have, of course, I believe in leverage. We're both at the same company, you and I. So I have brought on 80, 90 business partners through eXp. Now we have 800 business partners that are selling 400 or 500 homes a month. I get a referral fee every time those agents sell a home. That business, Jose, in the next year will outperform my real estate team. And I made a $0 investment in that. So no capital risk. But I'm going to utilize some of that money. Now I'm putting money into syndication deals and apartments and learning how to grow my money through that vehicle. I buy real estate. I still love investing in real estate. And just like you said, I'm learning how to build, training programs, because I have a friend that makes $1 million a month selling coaching, and she doesn't have to go anywhere. She sits in her little room, right? So my dream is, Kevin and I are building a home in Costa Rica that I could spend a lot of my time in Costa Rica through the winter. I could build my courses, help more agents leverage and get through, this crazy world of real estate and just help more people. So I'm trying to diversify every single day to continuously have different vehicles. So if one vehicle fails, I've got backup.
Yeah. What would you say the benefit of somebody that maybe is an individual agent of going to work for a team versus themselves? It
is to me, like, I didn't have teams when I started. So if I could come onto your team and literally learn everything I need to learn, it's like going to college. Like, are you going to go become a doctor without going and having somebody teach you? No. I mean, you've got to be taught some way. So if I could get onto a team and study the leader, study the systems, the processes, the language, what's working, what's not, have a team around me. I've done the math. You can go make, I have agents on my team that make 250 grand on my team at a 50-50 split. They're going to make about 20 to 25% more in working on their own, but they're going to have 100% of the headaches, 100% of the investment, 100% of the systems, the processes. They're going to have to take a lot of their time to invest in building a business when they could just plug and play with me. And so I think that it depends on what the agent wants. Do they want time or do they want money? My agents want their time. So they're willing to pay a little bit extra to get their time back. And so if you want to go have your name on a sign and you want to build a business, rock on, go do it. Right? We did it, so it can be done. But if I had a different vehicle today, I would learn leverage. Like right now, my agent that makes 250, I said to her, that's selling 35 homes a year. If I could get you to double that production to 70 homes a year by using a 15% paid showing assistant, and you don't ever have to leave the office again, I'm going to teach you how to make 500 grand and by paying somebody 15%. So she's starting to understand giving up some of her money to gain more. And so that's where our agents are getting a little bit smarter.
It's funny. We had our buyer's agent, which is my sister, who's been with me for 7 years. And this is the first year that she has a showing assistant.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the year that she makes the most money as well, too, because it's all about leverage. And I could see the light bulb go on as well, too, for her. Like,
Yeah.
if I just did more of this, not only will my life be simpler, meaning will I have more time, but I can also make more money, because those two things, you can have both as well, too. So from building a team, and it's almost like different levels. You start off as a new agent, have no idea what you're doing. Then you realize that it's a sales game. You become a really productive real estate agent. Then you build out a team, but then you had another realization, and then you transitioned to eXp. So why did you make that move? And I know why I made that move, but why not just, I mean, as a team owner, you can make 7 figures and be perfectly good, but why, what was the thought process as well too for switching? And this is not an eXp commercial, by the way.
No,
but
I mean, you know what, it's
genuinely
business decisions, right? Yeah. You know, the thing is, wherever you hang your license, you have to think about what does it deliver in value. You know, a lot of through the years, 120 years of real estate, brokerages, we are their customer, right? So we're their customer. So they have to give us a value proposition. Why do you come to Century 21? Why do you come to Remax? Why do you come to KW? Why do you come to eXp? So the value proposition through my 21 years in the business started to disintegrate, right? It was just, I realized that my capacity to learn was not from my broker. It was from me paying money to go outside of my brokerage and bring back the information. And then I ran my deals through the brokerage. So everything I learned was outside of the brokerage. So when you start to say, well, why am I paying Remax 100 grand a year when I could take that 100 grand a year and go put it into something else? That was what I started to realize. So with me, eXp was just mainly a vehicle to broker my deals. What I truly was looking for, Jose, was the communication and collaboration between the agents. My business was peaked at 72 million in volume. The minute I went to eXp, 27 months later, I'm at almost 200 million. My revenue went up, right? So why did it go up? Because I now was collectively had 7 business partners that poured into me, poured into my business, and we were all learning faster, exchanging information at light speed, because we now had open playbooks. You know, we were literally sharing. And so the biggest thing for me was, it's not how much does it cost me to work here. It's, if I pay this company eXp X amount of dollars, what am I going to get back in return? And I got back an abundant amount of information. And that to me was worth it in and of itself. If I don't look at the stock and the rev share, but you know, the stock was important to me. I have the only 3 awards I have on my desk are these 3, which I'm sure you have one, right? Our icon. I mean, this was 26 months, 600 grand of stock given to you for just doing your job, So I love that fact. And then the biggest thing was, again, I'm looking for leverage. I love leverage. Leverage is life. And so if I could partner with amazing agents like you, you know, I mean, anybody who's watching this right now, if they see you and they're like, I love him, well, go partner with him. He's going to teach you something. If I could partner with you and you can download your brain into me for free and be my consultant, right? That's going to, that to me, I don't even need a coach. I canceled all my coaching contracts the minute I came to eXp. I don't need a coach. I have 7 business partners, right? I have this panel of specialists that I could pick up the phone and call at any given time. That was priceless to me. So I knew that in order for me to send my message globally, I needed a bigger audience. And so eXp gives me that bigger audience, which can scale my business faster. And especially if I'm going into digital and selling products to agents that they're going to digest. I've already tested some of our theories on YouTube. I mean, everything on YouTube, I have pages that have 50,000 views. Those agents are dying for this info and we need to deliver it to them, right? So I gave everything for free. Now I'm going to start charging a little bit for it, because it still costs me time and money to do these informationals for these agents. So yeah, it was just a perfect vehicle for me. I don't know about for you, but I think you probably feel the same.
I think it just went hand in hand with everything that we're looking to do. Obviously, it gave me access to certain people as well too. I think what I'm getting from the call is at different levels, you've been exposed to different information, but
Mhm.
you've been receptive enough to be able to pay attention to it and make those adjustments in your
Yes.
business to be able to grow. Because a lot of people are exposed to the information, but something internally keeps them from actually taking a leap of faith almost and actually doing it. I think that's what I'm grabbing from you, that at every point in your career, there's been somebody or you did something to kind of put yourself in a different circle of people that now, and what I love about the company is that now I'm getting exposed to people making millions of dollars in rev share a month, millions of dollars
Yeah.
of rev share a year. So it's just a different level of thinking. And I think for other people who are watching this, is just getting exposure to people that are where you want to be and continually getting exposure to those people and not being scared to reach out to them and say, hey, how can we work together? What can we do to maybe help each other out? And then
Yeah.
obviously EXP was a perfect vehicle for that. So Tina, any final thoughts for viewers that maybe you like to share with them? Anything that you think would add value to other
Um,
real
yeah,
estate agents, business owners, attorneys?
yeah, I think, the thing is, yes, be open-minded. I have an acronym I give to my team. It's called LIFE. So LIFE. L means learn. Always be learning something new. I means implement. If they take 20%, I took every year for Mike Ferry, I took 20% of what I learned and it caused 80% of my wealth. So 20% makes 80% of your wealth. F means fail faster, fail more than you succeed, and you will win. And E means evolve. If you are not evolving, if I stayed
Mhm.
the exact same when I was at Mike Ferry, let's say 9, 10 years ago, and I never evolved my business, I would be so sad that I missed out on this fun that I'm having now. Making more money is not everything. I don't need more money. I mean, I'll happily take it, but I'm not seeking money right now. I'm seeking fun. I'm seeking purpose. I'm seeking passion, and I'm seeking relationships. So if I can change a person's life, that is way more fun than grinding every single day. So yeah, I would just say to them, live your life, learn, implement, fail, and evolve every single day. I'm thankful for people that are closed-minded, Jose. I really am, because think about this. And I tell my team all the time, if everybody understood this concept at once, we'd have no opportunity. So I'm thankful that people take time. I'm thankful that people listen to their peers at their other brokerages. You got to be thankful for the good and the bad. And so I am thankful for that. And I'm thankful for you and the opportunity to collaborate today.
Likewise. Where could people find you? Like if somebody loved the information, obviously, that you shared, where can they go?
I mean, anywhere. Just Tina Caul at YouTube, Instagram, call group, Facebook. I'm everywhere. So
Awesome, guys. So this was episode number 81 of the Morales Group Show. We had Tina Caul from Raleigh, California, real estate superstar, real estate team builder, EXP rev share top earner as well too. I've enjoyed the interview, Tina. If we could ever collaborate in the future, I'm happy to do so. And thanks again for sharing with our viewers.
absolutely. Good to see you, Jose.